the frequency, this is a transmission that I received from my inner guidance system. And if you follow Livzenastrology, we come from the premise that all is self. So this channel is learning to develop self-gnosis and to only get information outside of me that is relevant, that feels congruent to my inner thought processes, and not only thoughts but feelings, because we've got Jupiter in Cancer right now. And so it's all about feeling. It's learning to trust our deep intuitive nature, our own gnosis. Jupiter is spiritual expansion. It's our spiritual knowing. And Cancer is our feelings. It rules the part of the body that's the stomach. And so how I've been integrating these energies, and maybe you guys can relate, is I've noticed dietary changes happening really fast. So in other words, my body is not able to process or digest certain things like it used to. I've been vegetarian now for, gosh, I don't even know how long. It's been so long. I guess 2013 maybe. Anyway, this was I did it to practice, to honor Lent, even though I'm not Catholic, because I wanted to see what it was to surrender or to give up something to receive something else. So I'm not religious by any means, but I definitely like certain practices that I see certain communities doing because I think there's value in it, right? So going back to this fasting, I'm realizing that, especially since Uranus just ingressed into Gemini July 7th, and now we're on the first day of a 10-day Mayan gap spell, wave spell, if you follow the Tzolk'in calendar system for the Mayans, that there are new energies, the transmission that's coming through my inner gnosis, my inner guidance system, and saying that which you used to be able to do, you can no longer do. There are certain things that you were able to digest in the past because of where you were vibrating. And now, because where our vibration has shifted, I think of cymatics, right? If you want to check out cymatics on any of the social medias, Cymatics, and that shows vibration and how when certain frequencies or tones are emitted, it creates certain vibrational patterns. That's why they talk about the new future of medicine will be sound and vibration, because now scientists are being able to pinpoint certain cymatics of cells, right? Certain formations of cells that are disharmonious, that bring the body dis-ease. And so a very simple yet effective way to shift these dis-eases, and again, I'm not a medical doctor. This is just coming from my own gnosis. This is my own intuitive astrology, metaphysical, and spiritual astrology. I do not follow the mundane astrology anymore. I used to, but everything has upgraded within my system. And it's showing me that it's never what we think. And so for those of us who are branching off and stepping into our own gnosis about what we even know astrology, about our own body systems, it's about really learning to trust your own body and to really be in tuned with your feelings, your feeling nature. Because what I've been seeing, and if you guys resonate with this, please put it in the comments and let me know if this is resonating for any of you guys, that we are no longer in a certain geometric or cymatic thought forms. Our brain literally is being rewired. Uranus and Gemini. Uranus had been in Taurus, which is the body, for the last 7 years. So we were learning to harmonize our frequencies within our bodies and starting to see that really, and especially if you want to deep dive into what's called astrophysiology, that what we're perceiving or projecting outside of us is really internal structures that are happening within us. And so you can see, and what I'm able to see and to integrate is there's new frequencies that are coming online for me, and for all of us, right? Our DNA is being upgraded. So parts of our DNA that have been turned off or redirected, if you will, is now being brought back to our original default, right? From our ancestors, from connected more to our galactic brothers and sisters, whatever galactic means for you. And for me, galactic means the further out I go means the further in I'm traveling. So it's sort of a paradox, but I'm learning to resolve the paradoxical energies within me by learning that it's not this or that, which is very Gemini. It's and more, right? So it's not about whether it's good or bad or right or wrong or negative or positive. It's that we're all of it. We are right and wrong. We are positive and negative. We are masculine and feminine, especially when you're looking in this language as a way of more frequency, more so than gender. So when you look at frequency, the masculine part of us would be the electric part of us if we are bioelectrical beings, and the magnetic part of us, bioelectrical magnetic beings. So the magnetic part of us would be the feminine, right? So when you're hearing people talk about the divine feminine is turning back on, that the sacred cosmic mother is waking up because she's been asleep, how I interpret that through my own gnosis is that we are waking up within us. Our magnetic abilities to magnetize that which is for us, the highest and best, is now being turned back on. So everything happens in a cycle. And this is the cycle we're in right now, especially with this Mayan calendar 10-day galactic portal energy sequence that we're in. So our Mayan ancestors were telling us and letting us know, hey, there are certain time periods that happen seasonally and cyclically, because the Mayans are also coming on the 21st of July is starting a whole new wave sequence and whole new wave spell, a whole new, I guess the best word would be pattern recognition, right? So the ancestors were telling us, look, you are in a cymatical encased environment based on frequency. And so these particular geometries show up as physical forms, like what's happening outside of us. And so there's been a dissonant or a disharmonious energy on this planet. And if you study, again, star systems, if you study star gates, and I think of gate too, my guides were telling me it's a gate, like, you know, that holds you in, right? Like you walk through a gate. But I was also seeing too, like a horse. When a horse moves, it has a gait, has a movement. So, you know, we've heard of the quote from Nikola Tesla saying, if you understood the secrets of the universe, it has to do with sound, vibration, and frequency. And so with Uranus and Gemini really coming on, which Uranus likes to be in Gemini, it's been at a detriment when it was in Taurus, meaning it didn't really like to be in Taurus because Taurus is unmovable, right? It's fixed earth. And so it can create conflict when Uranus was in Taurus, right? Because it wants to move things that basically are unmovable. So with Gemini, Gemini's the mind. And so Gemini, you know, Uranus can move through the field of Gemini quicker than it did through the body of Taurus, if this makes any sense. So if you're studying, again, astrophysiology, how the body corresponds to the astrology, then you'll really start to be able to pick up on these frequencies that maybe we've not been able to tap into as of yet, right? So what I'm seeing too is that, you know, we need time to integrate these new frequencies. So for those of you who've been really feeling, like, for example, I've been really feeling, again, Sunday, went to a family gathering and had cheese, and my body got completely disrupted with the cheese product. It's like, no, you can't do cheese anymore, right? There's a certain chemistry in cheese that's no longer viable for where your body is being upgraded. So I had to go through this mourning process because I've cleared out a lot of my systems. Like I said, I quit eating meat a while back, quit doing most dairy products. I still eat eggs because it seems like my body's okay with eggs. But again, this is learning to discern what's good for your body based on the frequency that your body's emitting. And so old habits, old, excuse me, old foods, old, you know, relationships, jobs, situations, environments, it may not be conducive to where you're going, to where you're evolving to. And so there's a bit of a mourning process, right? I know it sounds silly, like, oh my gosh, I'm mourning cheese, but I really loved cheese, right? And I really loved participating with this particular chemistry. And now that I can't anymore, I've got to allow it to go, right? With grace and ease. So if you're feeling very emotional, if you know that there are shifts and change coming within your body, within your relationships, within, you know, situations in your life that you know that are leaving, that are transforming, the question I like to ask is what's right about this? Because redirection is protection. And this life is happening for us, especially since Mama Gaia is starting to really wake up. You know, it's almost like we've been lulled into this sleep paralysis through certain frequencies, through certain diets or nutrition that we've been given on this planet. Again, you're looking at right now, we're going to be seeing more and more um, of how everything is shifting. Everything is shifting. And it's an internal shift. And then we're projecting that internal shift outside of us. So if you're focused on war, if you're focused on pain, if you're focused on all the things that are going wrong, then that's what we're going to continue to bring more of. And this is the challenge. And yet this is the opportunity, right? Because challenges become our opportunities, our opportunities if we have full awareness and cognition, or at least decide to see unity in everything, you know, right, wrong, good or bad, whatever your opinion is. You know, how are your thoughts creating your reality? And are the thoughts that you're thinking making you feel better about your reality or making you feel worse? And so this is sort of the duality, the dual nature of Gemini. It's not this or that, it's this and that. And so how can we navigate through it? Guys, I'm not here to tell you all the answers to everything. I'm just here, you know, being very present and staying in my own lane as much as I possibly can. And then just showing up to share with you guys what's working, what's not working, and just have a conversation about these things. Because a lot of us now are starting to see the imbalance that has always been here. But again, because we've been in this sort of frequency war, we couldn't really see the imbalances because we were lulled into this, I guess, sleep paralysis, if you will, is how I've been seeing it. But now that our systems are starting to come back online and we're starting to wake up to the reality that we've been living in this whole time. And from my own inner gnosis, I've been seeing that, you know, a lot of us are expanding with AI and learning about the technology of AI. But what if certain AI systems have been running this planetary grid system the whole time? And all these ancient, you know, archaeological sites that have been housing these technologies that we've been told a story, especially I'm thinking of the pyramids, and not just the Giza pyramids in Egypt, but pyramids all over the world, that these technologies now are they're not just coming online, they've been online. And we're just seeing how these technologies have been integrating with our own neural pathways, our own neural net systems that exist because we are energy beings. We are bioelectrical magnetic beings. And so how is our energy, how has it been harvested up until this point? Because it's just energy. If everything's just energy and you really start tapping into your third eye, you know, seeing certain matrices around you, being out in nature long enough, you start seeing patterns. So it's developing a new pattern recognition system within you that has nothing to do with what's already being projected. This is where we have to really take command. This is also Leo of our frequency. And this is right now, Mercury is in Leo. So Leo is all about power. It's about learning to be the authority, right? To command your own ship, to command your own thought processes and your thinking processes. And this is the paradox, is that life is happening through you anyway, naturally. So really the illusion of command is just an illusion. However, in this paradoxical universe, if you can focus on what kind of frequency you would like to experience. So for me, when I'm, you know, tuning into the frequency, I've got Jupiter in Cancer that's transiting my 8th house right now, which is the Scorpio house. So there's deep alchemy happening, which is why I know that everything that I ingest into my body, it really will dictate what I'm experiencing and what I'm feeling. And if you guys can, you know, put in the comments if you relate to this, because we're all just chemists. It's all a chemical reaction, right? So we just learning to be better chemists, better alchemists within our bodies. And so that might mean clearing out certain substances and things and certain chemistry that is creating dis-ease or dissonance within the body that we just got used to. We just thought that's just how you used to feel, right? You're just used to feeling like shit. And honestly, when you start clearing up and cleaning up and you start feeling better and better, you realize, oh my gosh, I've been at dis-ease and I've had my nervous system disrupted for so long I didn't even recognize that it was dissonant, right? That it was unharmonious because I was so used to it. And this might be, guys, family lifetimes of our families being at dis-ease and not even knowing that there's a better way, that there is another way to live in this reality form. And so it requires us simply to be present and commanding the energy basically by just focusing on what you want. So, for example, I'm sending lots of love, energy, healing waves to the people all over the world that are going through floods and volcanic eruptions and hurricanes and different things that are happening that are shape-shifting this planet. And I see it as Mama Gaia. She's giving birth, right? You see her, a lot of content creators saying she's giving birth right now. And these are birthing pains that are happening. And so what I'm seeing, as what I'm imagining, is what is she creating? She's creating new harmonic structures within us. She's shaking off, kind of like a dog shaking off fleas, these dissonant energies. And the best way we can support her right now is by supporting yourself, because we are part of her. We are divinely and intimately connected to Mama Gaia. So when I keep tuning into her and I have this heart of service, like, Mama, how can I help you? What can I do to support you? I keep hearing, she keeps going back and saying, honey, just take care of yourself because you are me. So the more that you can love yourself, the more that you can honor yourself, honor your temple, clean out your temple. If cheese or certain products, certain things that you used to digest no longer work for you, no longer make you feel good, then please stop. Stop those things that make you feel at dis-ease and start inviting in more harmonic balance, whatever that may be. And we may not know what that looks like yet, because again, we got Uranus and Gemini, which is regridding our whole mental constructs. So what the term that I was given, that my guides, and I say my guides, meaning my inner guidance system, they keep telling me to do what's called plasma brailing. And plasma brailing is taking the plasma body that's around me, like water. It's a deeper, it's a denser substance than regular water, because there's different states of water. And if you study any of Veda Austin's work, they say there's a fourth state of matter. But if you're listening to some of these kids from the telepathy tapes, they're downloading that there might be even 7 states of water, right? So again, we're starting to really expand our gnosis through chemistry, through alchemy, through new scientific principles that are showing us a new version of ourselves that has been, I would say, corrupted, like a corrupted file. If you think of, if we are, if you also study Joe Dispenza or any of Bruce Lipton's stuff, they talk about that our brain is just a radio receiver, that consciousness does not come from the brain, that we are emitting frequencies like transmitters. And so what we have been transmitting up until this point has been discordant and dissonant energies that we just got used to. We didn't know any better, right? Because of these cosmic resets that happen on planetary scales that, again, none of us have experienced, especially with these planetary systems that we have now, with Neptune and Saturn and Aries, and now Uranus and Gemini, which we have not seen in 84 years. So a lot of us on this planet are experiencing these energies in a new way, in an upgraded way. And so what I'm hearing, the best way to navigate for me, and what I'm just being called to transmit to you guys, because you are me, I am you, right? We are this one energy field of consciousness, that the more you can release substances and things that are no longer in harmonic frequency with your body, with your mind, with your spirit, with your temple, right? It's cleaning out your temple, which even the words temples, in the mind. And Uranus is all about the mind right now for the next 7 years. And, I've heard this before, and I'm not sure even if it's real, because I'm questioning everything I see. in reality, but I have heard scientifically that the cells and everything within the body rejuvenates every 7 years. So in every 7 year cycle, everything has been basically upgraded within your system, has been reformed and regridded and regrown to a new harmonic. And so and that 7 year cycle is going to show what have you been doing for the past 7 years to upgrade your own system. Where have you shifted your energies? Think back to 2018 when Uranus ingressed into Taurus and what was going on in your life then. And now I would look to your chart to see where Gemini is. And if you guys want a free birth chart PDF, I'd be happy to give that to you. Just reach out to me, Livzenastrology at Gmail. And all I would need is your birth date information. And I'd love to send that to you free of charge, just so you can understand and understand your own frequencies, your own energetic systems. So I know I'm talking fast and I'm learning to slow down my thoughts, but when I'm in transmission mode, it just kind of comes out. And so just learning to master the language and the vibration and the frequency within me, and really speaking from my heart and my own gnosis about what's going on. And this is what we're being invited to do right now, is to really step into our own gnosis and to understand. I call what's called the layering effect. I like looking at different astrological events that are happening, especially like with today with the Mayan calendar and with the 10-day gap day spell that's happening now. Again, I'm kind of going everywhere with this transmission, but again, I'm just going to allow it free flow. I keep following way showers and polymaths like Robert Edward Grant or Greg Braden, right, who come from different sects and fields of study to pull together what's called the golden thread of truth through all these different studies like archaeology and science and astrology and mathematics and geometry. And again, pulling from this golden thread of truth that exists within all these different fields of study. And so how I see it is I look at different patterns of astrology, whether it's shamanistic astrology, evolutionary astrology, the Mayan calendar system, which is the Mayan astrology form, looking at Native American astrology, right? So in a way, I'm like a polymath astrologer, if that's even a thing, right? Poly astrologer. I guess I'm going to coin that now. I don't even know if that exists, but that's how I feel that I'm pulling from my own gnosis, and that we're all being invited to pull from our own Gnostic field of energy, because true truth only exists in one place, and that's within you, deep within you. And even if these DNA strands have been turned off or deactivated, they're being brought back online. And any corrupted file that was, again, if our brains are just transmitters, if we had any corrupted files or transmission systems within us that are only allowed to pick up certain frequencies because our DNA has been turned off or disrupted, or I would say modified, if you will, genetic modification, which we know it's a thing. And again, I would invite you to do your own deep study and your own analysis of these things, because this is what we're being invited to integrate and to put together through our own cymatical frequencies. And so it's almost regridding our neural pathways to be able to receive and to process and seeing the polymathic astrology, if you will, of what's going on in this field. So again, in Gemini, it's not this or that, it's this and that. It's positive and negative, it's masculine and feminine. We need all of it in this operating system so that we can transcend out of it. The only way through this, or to the next level, if you will, of our evolutionary processes is through this. So moving through polarity as best as you can. And if any of you have ever studied Hermeticism or the 7 Hermetic principles, and I'm sure there's more, but I would invite you to start there to, again, start self-teaching, because you have the tools all within you. You just need to learn how to access it. And I'm being called to start another channel on the Y page, on the Y2 page, called Alchemy of the Mind Meditations. And so what I'm being shown to is we need to learn to transcend words and to go directly to frequency. And so this is why I'm not aligned with religion anymore. I'm being told that we can access these points within us directly without any middleman. And And again, these have all been tools to help us access our true gnosis. But really, the divine intelligence exists within you at all times. It's just learning how to access that. And so with Uranus and Gemini, it's about learning to access that portal through the mind to recapture these stargates within you. And again, I think of gate spelled Gait, like movement, like the gait of a horse, how a horse moves. And we think of horsepower, which is energy. And we know our galactic center is in Sagittarius. So you're starting to see all these correspondence on how we move and integrate energy and how it's all us. Everything that we see us happening outside of us is happening deep within us. And so this is a deep, deep process. It's not for the weak hearted, and it's not to be taken lightly. And yet at the same time, it's like the heart and the feather, right? Is if you can weigh your feather against the heart and just keep it light, hold all realities lightly, because we are being presented, our attention is trying to be captured by what's going on in the world stage. The more that you can command your mind and only focus on what you want. So for example, how I'm doing this is I'm seeing all these floods happening, right? Because my home state is in Texas. So I'm really feeling the energy of Texas. And yet at the same time, I also feel this detachment, this simultaneously. I feel a heart for what's happening, but I also feel that this is happening for us, as painful as it may be, that the truth needs to be shown. How this AI technology, these weather modifications, these technologies that have been disrupting weather patterns or have been artificially creating dissonant events on this planet need to be seen truly for what they are. And so if our brothers and sisters needed to go through this as a collective to show the truth of what's really happening, then their sacrifices or their death is not in vain. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful because it's there for those of us. Again, we have contracts, we have soul contracts, we have agreements to have certain experiences on this planet, again, for our evolution, to wake us up and to get us out of this deep sleep process that we've all been in. So yeah, again, how my guides are showing me is like, okay, if you see that there's weather pattern disruptions and there's technologies that are creating instability and insecurity for our brothers and sisters, then what can we do to provide more security and balance and harmony for our brothers and sisters? And so I'm seeing too, there's these companies like GeoShip who are creating physical home structures that are waterproof, that are fireproof, that are mold proof, insect proof, and that the geometrical form of the shape of the building itself will actually help harmonize our electromagnetic fields. And so now I'm seeing, okay, that's what I want to see more of on this planet. I'm following creators like Zach Bush, who's talking about, really getting into our gut biome and that we need more biodiversity within our guts. So we need to get off of the glyphosate and we need to start, regenerating our soils in natural ways. So this is what I'm looking to solutions. We know what the problems are. We know the imbalances that are happening. So for those of us who are willing to step into it and say, okay, I see the imbalances. I'm seeing where we have dissonant energies. What are we willing to do to move forward and to create the new reality timeline? This is where that timeline split that a lot of people have been talking about. This is where it comes from. It's the split in consciousness. It's diverging away from all these dissonant vibrational cymatical patterns that have been bombarding our frequencies through certain technologies that we're now starting to realize, oh my gosh, that has been affecting everything I've been projecting and seeing and feeling in this reality, because my brain is a transmitter, it's a radio receiver. So what have I been receiving? And a lot of it's been lower level dissonant energies that have been in subterfuge, right? Have been in the dark, that's been ruling, our reality in a way. And so we can take command of the ship once we're aware and awake to it. And that's where I feel a lot of us are starting to get really empowered to go, wait a minute, I no longer consent to these frequencies bombarding any of my energetics or any of my cellular structures. I now take back any covenants or contracts that I signed or that my ancestors signed 7 generations forward and 7 generations back. I reclaim the ship. I reclaim the language. I regrid my frequency to the highest and best timeline experience for myself and all sentient beings and every cosmology around me. And just whatever language comes to you to really command your ship, to command your frequency. And so again, this is a deep retrospect, and it might be a little different than what other astrologers are speaking of, and that's okay. I think we're here to be our unique selves and in our unique periphery so that we can help each other through this cosmological wave of energy that happens in cycles, but yet we're being upgraded. It's like the higher octave. Think of like music being played, right? There's resolution. It has to go through its and I need to learn music, so I don't know of the terminology, but I study harmonic astrology, and it talks about there needs to be I think, what's the word for you guys that are musicians? You can tell me when a note gets to a certain peak and then it has to be resolved. I'm not sure what that's called in musicality, but I know that's what's happening energetically as well. So there has to be resolution. There has to be resolve that happens once we get to a certain peak frequency, right? Because everything goes up and down. Jacob's ladder goes up and down. And so see if you guys can relate or connect to anything to what I'm saying. Again, tuning into your own gnosis. This is the deep dive that we're all being called to explore within ourselves. So if you can manage your mind, again, harness your frequency as much as you can. It's already happening through you, by you, for you anyway. The divine intelligence that exists in nature, in that tree, in that flower that's organically growing in perfect form, that is the same intelligence that is organically growing in perfect form through you. If you can connect to the organic nature, right, to the organic grid, and really pierce through these old energy grids that I see is almost like spider webs. They're falling away anyway. So if you can consciously connect to the organic grid, which is from your mother, because we're in a womb, right? So connect to that womb space. And I think of amniotic fluid is like the plasma, right? So we're in these plasmic field bodies of energy. And so the plasma body is bringing these new cymatical forms of energy that's going to help us navigate out of this pain body that not only that we're going through, but that our mother, our Mama Gaia, the earth structure, who gave us this form, this physical form, and this particular humanoid Homo sapien genetic, because we're evolving out of that too. We're becoming, if you study any of the gene keys, Richard Rudd's teachings about becoming homo luminous, we're becoming more light crystalline bodies. Then this is the process. Things have to die away for things to be reborn. This is alchemy. Energy does not just come from the air, although in some ways it does, right? We just were never taught, or the technology of how this works has been hidden because, again, perhaps we were babies and we just weren't ready for this level of power. I don't like to look in the blame game anymore, because if all is self, then everything is happening for us. And there's an aspect of myself that created this reality because I gave attention to it. And so I'm ready to command the ship. I'm ready to command my thoughts, my frequencies. And I do that through practice, through study, through self-study, through being out in nature, paying attention to what Mama Gaia is teaching. And again, there is coherence to this reality if you just look for it, if you sit with it and are willing to get rid of all the things that no longer bring you harmony and balance. And that's people, that's situations, that's structures, that's jobs, food, environments, whatever needs to shift. Conscious awareness will make it just, I won't say it's going to make it easier, but it's going to allow you to at least have a co-creative experience with the divine, right? What's the point of consciousness unless we work with it? So Again, if you wanted to follow how I follow the wave spell, is I got this app called 1320 Sync, SYNC, and it follows the Tzolk'in Mayan calendar system, and it talks about each day has a wave spell or a set of words or vibrations that help support you with what's going on for each day, each frequency. And so if you want to sit in meditation, again, there's different ways to pull from gnosis, either tarot cards, divination cards, learning astrology, different forms of astrology is what seems to really work for me. And again, I look at it as a bit of a polymath, right? Polymath astrologer, because I come from all different types of astrology to pull this my inner gnosis together. And yeah, just transmitting what wants to be transmitted in this now time moment. So I hope this serves you. I hope this gives you clarity and energy and empowerment to know that you are not alone moving through these energy forms. There's new shapes and structures happening within the mind right now, and it's happening through our frequency, through our vibration, through our intention. And so yeah, it's a mystical time that we're in right now. And again, everything is happening for you. So stop, drop, and roll. Stop what you're doing, especially if you get triggered or if you're seeing things happening outside of you that you don't want to experience. Stop feeding that energy, that egregor, right? This giant formation that as a collective we all decide to feed by giving it our attention, and really learning to manage your mind and only giving attention to those things that you want to give attention to. So if you're seeing destruction within the home, within our food, within our climate, then focus on the solutions, new home structures, new ways to regenerate the soil, new breathing techniques that help get cleaner, clearer breath within you. Learning to use dehumidifiers, learning to use purifiers, right? Purify your system as much as you can. We also have Mars and Virgo right now, which just wants things accurate. It wants the truth of things. And so you're going to start seeing more truth come to light, and Mercury's going retrograde on the 18th. So we're going to have to go in. Retrogrades are about going in and restructuring yourself. So again, I know this is a lot of information that's being transmitted right now, guys, and thank you so much for being here. Those that are still here, that are connected to this channel, connected to this frequency. I love you. I support you. I'm learning to support myself more and more and being more diligent with the alchemy of what's being asked of us right now, cleaning up our systems, cleaning up our thoughts, cleaning up our environments, just doing the work internally. Again, Mama Gaia is telling me, what I keep asking her, what can I do for you, Mother? She's like, keep working on yourself, keep loving yourself, keep having self-respect and honor your temple, because that's what's helping me through this birthing process as I'm giving birth to a whole new reality timeline, a whole new space for us to dwell. But some things have to die off. They have to go away for things to be reborn. So this is the process. It's always been the process. And we're starting to get more clear with it. We're starting to mature. We're starting to grow up and to really, really understand what sovereignty really looks like and means. And it's never what we thought. It's a whole new experience. So hang in there. I love you, family. Thank you so much for being here in this transmission, this energy transmission. And I will see you soon. Just continue the great work, because this is the great work, to love yourself unconditionally and to love everything and everyone, even if it's difficult and challenging, because there's so much dissonance happening. That's the work. Can you love and use the medicine of forgiveness for everything? Because that's one of the highest medicinal frequencies that you can tap into, because forgiveness is medicine. And what I'm hearing right now is that's what's going to help us more than anything get through these very difficult and challenging frequencies that we're all experiencing. Okay. I love you, family. Thank you for being here. And I'll see you on the next transmission. All right. So much love. Thank you for being.